Justice Donolo seems unusually unhappy this morning.
No, it's Charlie, this is one of my favorites.
When we are talking about spa outages, you are dancing. What dance you have danced? The man cannot breathe.
No, I beg. No, I have to ask Black Rasta how he does it.
Charlie.
This one will be coming for the Kuchoko festival, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not missing that festival.
Nice.
You can Charlie, do you know his name?
This one? Yes, I'll tell you.
Living proof
his name is Dwayne Stevenson.
I say, what is his guy name? What's his guy name?
He doesn't have a guy name.
Oh,
he doesn't have a guy name.
Oh, Abia, he doesn't have a guy name.
When we meet at Kuchoko, I will introduce him to you.
What is his most popular name? Abia,
Stevenson.
I know the guy.
You are here, you want to bully us.
Went to school.
Which of them? He has another song.
Abia, play that song.
He has another. It is called the Cheater's Prayer.
Cheater's Prayer.
If I will.
See, here I come to lie to the listener.
You don't know the song I'm talking about.
You don't know who sang Cheater's Prayer. I come to say.
So this is Christopher Martins, not Dwayne Stevenson. Okay. But the voices are almost.
Let's listen to the song.
Don't let me cheat on my girlfriend.
The sounds of Anna, man. They will show you. But
he says, don't let me do it. Yeah. But even if I will do it, Lord, I beg you. Don't let me. You will get caught in the name of Jesus. Say amen.
Leave there.
Me get caught. Don't let me get caught. Hope I don't get caught.
Sisters, you will be caught in the name of Jesus. Say amen.
I'm not doing it.
I promise my girl if you only look in our direction.
I mean, we cannot be caught, so we're not doing it. We can't be caught.
Fall for your attention. I only want.
Sisters, the Council of State elections in the Ashanti region, it is happening today. Mm-hmm. You know that the first one was marred by violence. Fights. Ballot boxes were destroyed. Ballot papers were thrown around and all of that. Today, they're holding the elections again.
A rerun.
Yes, a rerun of the elections. The Ashanti MPP caucus in Parliament, what they said was that they wanted this rerun election to be held at the Central Police Station. It was a demand they were making that the election be held there because where it was held earlier was
the RCC, right?
The RCC. It cannot be trusted to produce fair result because it is likely that it will be disrupted again. Hence, they wanted the Central Police Station. It appears that has not been listened to. The election will be held today at the Prempeh Assembly Hall, I understand.
I think we can get a confirmation of that from our regional correspondent. Yes, but I see, I've been wondering when did the Council of State elections start, gathering such attention, interests. It's almost become like the parliamentary election, do or die. Charlie, the lashes I saw, it's not small.
So those of you who are joining us on social media, you could listen to this and watch this. Some of the scenes and sounds of the violence that marked the Council of State elections. Listen to this. So what you're seeing on social media now is the police finding it a hard time to control some supporters of some of the aspirants or the contestants when they broke through the police barricades and then tried to enter where the elections were being held.
And this is Ashanti region.
This is Ashanti region. Some of the policemen were being beaten. Now I can see a man who the police officer is trying to put cuffs on. And so this is where it all degenerated. This is where all the chaos started from. So, sisters.
So this just look at the beginning of the video, eh? You see how they broke through the barricade.
Yeah.
And they are stamping policemen, uniformed policemen, beating them.
Yeah.
Hey, kicking down tables and what was that? Is that a ballot box?
Oh, there are videos where that's a ballot
broken ballot box.
Exactly.
This is shameful.
When they began counting, that is when all of these started. But after that, after the chaos mad, the MPP Ashanti caucus in Parliament, they held a presser, and I'll let you listen to what the spokesperson of the group is a former Foreign Affairs Deputy Minister. Aprachum, what he said about the chaos and some demands they were also making after the chaos. Take a listen.
Before you here today with a deep sense of duty and outrage over the violent, disgraceful events that unfolded yesterday at the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council during the counting of the votes of the Ashanti Regional Representative to the Council of State. In an outrageous act of lawlessness, known NDC thugs, led by one Oforibuodu, alias Zuba, a rumored nominee for Kumasi Mayor, stormed the counting center and forcefully snatched the ballot box in a desperate attempt to disrupt the process. At the time of this shocking attack, Nana Nkansa Bodu, one of the contestants, had secured 49 out of the 86 votes, putting him in a commanding lead. Realizing that their preferred candidate was losing, this Zuba guy and his thugs violently intervened, halting the democratic process and plunging the election into chaos. We ask, is this the democracy that Mahama-led government claims to uphold? Is this what the NDC means by governance? We will not sit idly whilst the will of the people are subverted through violence and intimidation. As the Ashanti Regional Caucus of Parliament, we make the following urgent demands. 1. Immediate arrest and persecution of the perpetrators. The individuals behind this shameful act, including Zuba, must be arrested immediately and made to face the full rigors of the law. Ghana is governed by laws, not thuggery. We demand justice, and we demand it now. Number 2, swift resumption of the electoral process. The Electoral Commission must ensure that this election is concluded transparently and fairly so that the true choice of the people prevails. We will not allow intimidation to dictate election results in the Ashanti region.
To be a concern to all of you, because there is a developing trend in our country, which is extremely an alien way of doing things. Ghana, of course, sometimes we have pockets of violence and misunderstanding, but it looks like our brothers from the NDC, they've adopted new negative paradigm shift. Check what happened during the just recent national elections. At point, they had to even use some of them guns to force the EC to declare. And they do these things in our strongholds. It is not just about NDC or NPP. It's not about an individual, but it's about all of us. And a country such as Ghana, that we have this reputation because of peace, tranquility, and coexistence, that all over the world, on the globe, they respect us. If this is where they want to take us to, I think all of us have to join this crusade and advocacy against these dysfunctional behaviors. That somebody has to win an election. If not, there should be mayhem. We have mature men, we can transport them to Ashanti region. We are a peace-loving people. It's not that we are being controlled by cowardice, but we think countries such as Ghana must be a country that other African countries can emulate our peaceful nature. But of course,
so those were the voices of Aprachum Sapon, and then Stephen Boateng sticker speaking there after the chaos in the
Helena Piampofo's best friends.
the Council of State elections in the Ashanti region. Let's speak with my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar. He's joining us from the Ashanti region. We understand the elections will be held today. Ibrahim, good morning to you. Talk to us about preparations. Where has it been held? Are we seeing security beef ups? Are we seeing any presence of military and essentially the atmosphere of the keenly contested Council of State elections in the Ashanti region?
Well, Crosby, the election for today has been moved from the previous venue, which is the Regional Coordinating Council, to the Premier Assembly Hall. Now, this is an enclosed area. That's why people were calling for the election to be held here. Now, Crosby, before you get to the voting area or even the voting center, you have to cross at least 5 barriers, all manned by security personnel. This time around, we've seen some changes. We've seen enhanced security. We've even seen the anti-robbery squad around, but they are in their vehicles, and we've seen several armed officers. The last election, Tuesday's election, though the police presence were huge, hundreds of them, but because I would say 98 to 99% of them were unarmed. When the confrontation broke out, they were helpless and they couldn't do much to stop these guys. But today the situation is different. They are not, in fact, if you do not have accreditation, you will not be allowed access to not even the inner perimeter, the premises of the assembly, or you will not. And even they do not want to see 2 muscularly built people standing and chatting, whether you were part of the group who came yesterday or not, they do not want to see. So I remember when we came here some few minutes ago, there were 2 guys who were just chit-chatting outside even the voting center. The anti-robbery squad and the police had to go there and tell them to move. They do not want to see anyone there. So even for the media, before you enter, you are scrutinized very well. They make sure that you are not entering with any unapproved gadget. So the security is very, very tight. In fact, it's a test case for the new regional commander, DCOP Tay. This is his first job, and he wants to deliver it well. So as I speak, voting has started. We are expecting 86 people to come and cast their ballots. As at now, 9:12, about 16 of them have come. We are waiting for about 70 of them to come. Well, the information we are having is that some of them have been camped because the last election, by this time, more than 80 had already voted. We were waiting for 2 by 11. We were done. But we are waiting. They may be, hopefully, by 10, 11, we are expecting that all of them will be here to vote so that Ashanti region will also finally be able to elect its representative on the Council of State members. So police, very, very tight here, and voting has also started very peacefully. In fact, when I was coming, I even met some of the guys who were here last week to disrupt the process. They have parked their motorbike far away from the voting area. I don't know, maybe whether they want to devise a way of coming here, but the way the security has been positioned, it will be very, very difficult for anyone to be able to penetrate it.
Ibrahim, before the elections today, the NPP Ashanti caucus, they made some demands. They wanted the election to be held at the Central Police Station, a decision they do not want to budge on. Now it is not being held there. What has been the reception of the, if you like, supporters of the NPP in the region with regards to the change in venue, not to the Central Police Station and not at the RCC, but the Premier Assembly Hall?
Well, Crosby, in the first place, this election is not even supposed to be partisan.
Right.
So, but it is, as we do know, because you have executives of the NDC bringing one contender or contestant supporting him, the MPP also doing same. For them, they are happy. In fact, for the main, this election, even though there are 12 candidates, as we speak, 2 have pulled out, one giving her support to the former NDC regional chairman, Yao Bimpe, and another strong contender, Rose Hamilton, also giving her support to Nana Nkansa Boadu, who is a council of elder in the New Patriotic Party and also a financier. So, like I said, even though 12 were contesting, but the election was centered on these 2, the former NDC regional chairman and the great Kenzima in Nana Nkansa Boadu. But all along, what they have been calling for was a change in venue. They didn't really care whether it will be held at the barracks or at the police station. They wanted an enclosed area where the security will be able to prevent unapproved or unauthorized people from entering into the voting arena. So when eventually the EC, together with stakeholders, agreed that the election be moved here, they appear satisfied. They are hoping that at the end of the day, the will of the people will speak. Nothing will disrupt the process. So all the candidates are here also observing what is happening. The military was not deployed, obviously, because the police officers here have come in their numbers, very, very ready, in their uniform, in their bulletproof vest, and so many gadgets that they brought here. In fact, per what I'm seeing here, if there is another major event in Kumasi today, they wouldn't have the security going there because almost the police in Kumasi have been brought here to maintain law and order and ensure that the election ends successfully. So people are happy with the change in venue and with the security arrangement for today.
Ibrahim, thank you so much. But before you take leave of us, talk to us about the community the Prempeh Assembly Hall finds itself, the Fanti New Town area. You know, this election has now generated a lot of anticipation and people are expectant. They are watching it closely. Has it affected the atmosphere around the area? People, expressing a lot of interest in knowing what happens and all of that?
Well, yes, it has been the talk of time. In fact, people are even... They are a bit confused because previous elections, you will not even hear of the election. All that you hear is that this person is representing the region on the Council of State. But this one has generated a lot of attention, people talking about it, especially when that disturbance happens. So people are around, but this is the main stretch, the Fanti New Town area, going towards the Central Business District, that's KJT and also Central Market. But this portion of the road has been blocked, so the drivers have been given an alternative. So you still find people moving about. Well, businesses are booming as usual, but they've made sure that this stretch you wouldn't find a lot of people moving because they've made sure that even outside the premises, they don't want to see people massing up. If you do that, then maybe probably you have to go a kilometer or far from the voting area. So, like you said, it has generated a lot of attention, a lot of interest, but the police, in terms of security, have structured it in a way that when you are inside, you will not find a lot more people standing here.
Ibrahim, always a pleasure having you join us. Ibrahim Abubakar speaking to us from the Ashanti region on preparations for the ongoing Council of State elections in the Ashanti region after the first election was marred by violence. That was Ibrahim Abubakar there.
It started already.
Yes, it's ongoing.
It's ongoing.
Yes, it's ongoing. And he mentioned the number of people who have voted already. The situation until this time, I mean the first one, about close to 80 people had voted as of the morning. So we knew where it was turning to, but now I think less than 40 people have voted so far. But you were concerned about how come a peaceful election like the Council of State election has degenerated into fomenting chaos,
yes,
fights, people now beginning to pay money and all of that, because we know the benefits they're getting when they get onto the Council of State.
But should it all be about that? I mean, you see, it is one of the areas that
assemblyman elections, even in Ghana, it's something that also generates a lot of.
Yes, but this is the Council of State. This is the Council of State.
And
this is
which
where
obviously has more, if you like, has more value than the.
So it's about the value. It's about the V8, the police escort.
We know how much they are taking from the end of the 4 years.
Should we call it allowances or salaries?
Yes, allowances.
And then what's the gratuity?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, come on. You see, it's one of the reasons a lot of us are beginning to ask for reforms in this area.
Right.
As to whether we even need to have a Council of State. The other day, I did the same analysis here, and I was of the opinion that, look, if you look at the role that the Council of State is supposed to play, it honestly is not playing that role. In previous engagements, I mean, from previous engagements, some of the decisions that had been taken, and you ask yourself, did this really go through the Council of State? Did the Council of State really speak on this matter or advise on this matter? But then again, in defense of the Council of State, it doesn't do its work in public, and doesn't speak to the media. Right. So you never really can tell. But well, with all this attention that we are seeing now, we will also get into it, probe, we'll start calling them and asking them questions. Because this should be one of the should I call it the preserves. This is where you should find people who are distinguished in their respective careers or professions or backgrounds. You don't have to be a PhD holder to get into the Council of State, but that's your background, your experience in life, in work, if it's academia, whatever background you have, the knowledge you have, the wealth of experience you bring on board, that you can advise the President of the Republic. That is what we should be looking at.
Right.
Not, if the Crosby is okay.
Let's speak to Christopher Amwako. He's joining us from the northern region, where the elections, the Council of State in that region, is also expected to be rerun today. I understand it is ongoing. We'll get the details from Christopher Amwako. Now, the election is being rerun today also due to similar reasons like that of the Ashanti region. It was marred by chaos. Christopher, good morning to you. How is the region feeling this morning?
Good morning, Crosby. So the rerun will take place in the Northeast region, where there was a tie the previous election, and so today the election is taking place again. It was scheduled to start at 8 a.m. People have come for the process to begin. All the two candidates are around, and also seeing the delegates, 12 of them who will be voting in this election today.
How was security arrangements today looking like?
Yeah, so because the previous election did not see any case of violence recorded around the premises, so security is tight though, but we are not seeing the numbers like as though it's in the Ashanti region, where I understand that security has been beefed up. But here, everything is normal, and we are just waiting for the voting process to commence. Before today, the two candidates all went to the 6 administrative assemblies to meet with the delegates to campaign and also tell them what they can do to help the development of the region. And so, like I said, we are just waiting for voting to commence for us to know whether there's going to be a tie again or not. But of course, let me indicate that because of the fact that we cannot rule politics out of this election, there is the likelihood that we still get a tie today, because the delegates who voted for either of the candidates are strong supporters of those candidates. And so there's the likelihood that we are going to see a tie again.
I see. So, if we see another tie today, like we did the last time, what then happens to the elections? Where would we go from there?
Yeah, so the EC officer has indicated to me that if there is a tie today, they are going to continue the process till they get a winner. But the one of the candidates has actually told me that he's very optimistic that even if plus one vote, he's going to win because the work he has done is so massive that he's going to win. He has been able to convince the delegates that he's the right choice. And so we are only waiting and hoping that we don't see a tie again for us to see another rerun. But each of the candidates is indicating that he has an upper hand to win today's election.
But the delegates, the voters themselves, what are they expecting today too?
Yes, so they are very happy because the rerun is giving them some cash because Crosby, we cannot rule the fact that money does not exchange hands in this election. And so even yesterday, as late as 3 midnight or this morning, the candidates still were calling on the delegates to inform them on the need for them to vote for them. And so some of them also were moving around behind closed doors. They confirmed to me that they've received envelopes, even though they've not disclosed the amount that were in those envelopes. But they have indicated that it's an election and what they have been given is TNT. And so they have received envelopes and the highest bidder probably may win in this election.
Christopher, thank you. But before you take leave of us, let's talk about the Northeast region and the reimposition of the curfew there. How is that going? What has been the response and the levels of adherence to the protocols put in place?
Okay, so Crosby, let me first indicate that residents are complaining about brutality by the military personnel in the area, even though the military has denied that they are brutal.
Christopher, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Crosby.
Sorry, we lost you for a moment, but go ahead.
Yes, so what I'm saying is that the residents are complaining about some brutalities that for them, the military allegedly brutalized them, but the military is also saying that they are only enforcing the curfew hours. Now, there is also heavy traffic on the Tamale-Bogatanga road. And so the vehicles are not allowed to pass when it's 6 p.m. And so you see a gridlock on that stretch of road. Now, we also do understand that the curfew extends from around Nasia to Wulugu, all in the West Mamprusi municipality. And so if you are from Bolga coming and you get to Wulugu, you cannot pass through to Walwali and leave the town. If you're also from Tamale and you get to Nasia, you cannot pass through and go to the other end of the road. So it is creating a lot of inconvenience for motorists on that stretch. Now, the other issue has to do with businesses that have been grounded to a halt in the Walwali enclave. And so before now, you go to the area at night, you realize that a lot of business activities going on. But this time, when it's 6 o'clock, you do not see anyone on the streets of Walwali. So it is actually biting hard on them. But the issue is that once the incidents of attacks continue to prevail in that area, obviously we are going to see this curfew extend to a certain level.
But the positioning of the residents and coming on the back of the happenings that necessitated the curfew, how are regional authorities, RECSEG, how are they dealing with the crisis there?
You remember that the regional minister was in the Walwali community where he was held hostage. His official vehicle was vandalized. And so this time around, they are using dialogue. They are meeting with the various youth groups to ensure that they are able to dialogue with them to understand the need for calm or peace to prevail. They are also in talks with the king of Mampurugu, that is the Nairi, who superintends over the entire Mampurugu kingdom. And also, all stakeholders have been brought on board to ensure that some level of normalcy is retained to the Walwali enclave. So, Crosby, I may not be able to go into detail the engagements so far because, according to the Regional Security Council, they have their tactics that they want to use to ensure that there is peace in the area. And so we are only hoping that their strategies work, and it has to be fast enough so that some level of social activities, economic activities will be retained to the area.
Christopher, thank you so much. We trust that to bring you updates in our subsequent bulletins on the Council of State elections in the Northeast region, as well as the reactions to the imposition of a curfew in the Northeast region there. Emmanuel Koting is the Executive Director of the African Center for Security and Counter-Terrorism, joining us with some updates or perspectives from the happenings in the Northeast region. Emmanuel, good morning. Thank you for joining us. The Northeast region, they're not too happy with the happenings there. Reimposition of a curfew that the residents are not happy about. They're also complaining about the presence of military personnel there who say that are abusing them. Where do we go from here?
Well, thank you for having me, and good morning to your cherished listeners. In fact, I'm not somebody who supports curfew at all. Curfew has never been part of my prescription for resolving chieftaincy conflicts. To me, as I've always indicated, it's always a stopgap measure to restore law and order. And like in the case of the Walwali, I think imposing curfew was right because there was total breakdown of law and order. But the thing we need to do, or moving forward as a people, is not to make it a permanent peace solution mechanism. Because if you look at the security response, in fact, we need a very significant refinement in how we handle some of these things. I think that instead of a blanket curfew, we should implement targeted security measures like enhanced highway patrols. We could look at intelligence-led operations and community policing initiative. And if you look at the allegations of the military brutality on the citizens of Walwali, it cannot demonstrate the urgent need for better training in conflict-sensitive security operations like what we are having in Walwali. But look, my brother, we cannot continue to have this kind of conflict pre-independence to this time, and we cannot find a solution to it. It means that we are failed as a people. And you realize that successive governments have tried to implement their own, but nothing seems to change. And like you rightly mentioned, the situation in the Walwali, it highlights several critical issues in conflict management. First is the lack of consultation with the local representatives. And you agree with me in that we cannot bring peace in this area if we don't consult the stakeholders.
Right.
And the locals there are the main stakeholders. To the extent that we don't do that, it undermines community trust and cooperation. And you know, when we don't have community trust and cooperation, we can barely even maintain law and order. And you realize the MP for the area, my good friend Dr. Tia, indicated that when the Ministers of Defense and Interior met MPs from the enclave, he was not invited. If that is the case, it's quite troubling. And I don't want to believe that the suspicion we've held over the period of Kusasis being NDCs and aligned with NDCs and the Mampreshis aligned with MPPs will stand to foster. Second, you see the selective application of security measures, like what our military did and brutalized innocent citizens. It kind of risks creating new grievances. And rightly so, you realize that the regional minister was attacked and his vehicle vandalized. And the third thing we need to look at is the heavy military approaches without corresponding diplomatic efforts. All of this in the long term will prove very counterproductive. So in all of these things, I've seen people calling on the Otumfo to mediate between the feuding factions. That is right. But we need to put the foundations in place. If we don't do that, simply asking Otumfo to call the feuding faction to a roundtable discussion will not prove worthwhile in this enterprise at all. Because that time we needed to do that, it has passed. So we need to put the ingredients of trust building before we bring all of that. So now, what has government got to do in the current situation, factoring Boku in its entirety? You realize that enclave is the country's gateway to the Sahel countries. And you know the upheavals in the Sahel, especially terrorism and what have you. Many may think and be blaming the Mampreshis that they may be behind these attacks of burning buses and others. For all you know, it could be a criminal gang or a militia group in gestation. So we need to do more intelligence-led security arrangement in the area than the heavy-handedness of using the military and stuff. So now we have to look at these things, the historical context impact. We have to look at constitutional reforms path. We have to look at traditional authority recognition. We need to look at economic development strategy. And you know, because the conflict has raged on for a period of time, the educational structure within this enclave is broken. So we need to look at educational reforms. And we also need to look at institutional framework. But the most important aspect of all of this is a truth and reconciliation process. If we don't put in place a truth and reconciliation process, there will not be genuine avenues for the feuding factions to vent their angers. And then, when you allow an aggrieved person to make his point, this other person make his point, you'll be able to draw the lines. And I think those are the starters in all of this.
Going forward, for the residents in these communities and the situation they are faced with, what should their approach be for their own safety while not suppressing their emotions?
I think that we must review our security approach, given that we are in a democracy. And like I mentioned, our activities relating to peace building in this enclave should be intelligence-led. And we must enhance highway patrols, and then we must bring in community policing, you understand? And above all, there must be deep consultation. Look, if we don't involve the stakeholders, anything we do will come to nothing. If you look at the conflict origin in pre-independence arrangements and subsequent political interventions, my brother, it has created layers of competing claims to traditional authority. As a peace builder, and being at the forefront of the Dagbon peace crisis and many other conflicts around West Africa, I will humbly suggest that we need to develop a dual recognition system that acknowledges both the Kusasis and the Mamprishis, traditional leadership. You understand? With their respective jurisdiction. You know, the pride of these people is their traditions, and they'll do everything to protect their traditions. So if we can recognize the two respective traditions in a dual system approach, it will create a parallel by equal authority structures, each with clearly defined rules, you understand, and responsibilities. And the success of this, I'm talking about past experience, has been experimented in other areas. That could be experimented in this situation as well. The challenge will be land ownership. And that is something we need to do deeper reflections and more consultations. Because the crunch of this issue is about land ownership. You know, Walwale is in the northeast region, and Boku is in the upper east region. So even look at the traditional authorities and demarcations. One will ask, and I dare say that I'm not putting this position as a solution. Then I don't get accused by either of the factions that I'm making certain statements that will be prejudicial to the lasting solutions in the area.
Right.
So one may ask, the Mamprishis are in the northeast, the Kusasis are in the upper east region. And you know, we have traditional regional authorities. So how do we juxtapose the two, that the Mamprishis from northeast will want to have land control in the upper east region? These are things historians may help us with, because as a peace builder, I don't hold any positions for any of the feuding factions. My is to project solutions that will be to the benefit of the two. And we must also look at constitutional reform.
Right.
I think government needs to initiate a very comprehensive constitutional review process, specifically focus on traditional authority disputes. I think this will involve creating a new constitutional framework that clearly defines the relationship between traditional authority and the modern state. And I'm happy that the president has put a constitutional review committee in place. These are things they should take interest in and look at how we can ride the ills. I don't think the Constitution have helped us, especially, if you look at our traditional authorities and Dagbon in particular, there were no succession protocols in place. So one of the key drivers of peace in Dagbon was establishing succession protocols,
right,
and providing legal mechanisms for resolving disputes. If we can put all of this in place, we can now bring in eminent chief, not necessarily Otunfo. We could look at other chiefs with the same clout that the feuding factions will listen to. And let's place it on record. We cannot bring peace in Boku by the barrel of the gun. No, it has never happened anywhere unless a roundtable discussion for us to disagree to agree.
Ronald Coating, thank you. Thank you so much for your time with us on the program with those perspectives on the happenings in the Northeast region.